top stories, Ethiopians denounce undue Western interference. And a researcher speaks out against double standard by Western powers in treating the TPLF. Hello and thank you for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has inaugurated the Burayu Talent Development School today. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister said Ethiopia needs more talent development centers like this school so that talented young people can help their country become technologically competent. He also said that the world is highly evolved in technology than it has ever been. To reap the economic and other benefits of technology, it is imperative that Ethiopia produces professionals with advanced knowledge in the field, he added. The Prime Minister hailed local residents who contributed in various ways from the beginning to the end of the school's development. The African Union has informed the government of Ethiopia that the much-anticipated peace talk is set for the 24th of October 2022 in South Africa, National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister Redwan Hussein said. Tweeting on the matter, Hussein reaffirmed Ethiopia's commitment to peace. He said the government is dismayed by some forces that are bent on preempting the peace talks and spreading false allegations against the defensive measures. While Ethiopia commits itself to peace talks, the government will continue controlling all airspace in the country with a view to forestall any attempt by some foreign powers to encroach on its sovereignty. The military measure against the TPLF will also continue, it was noted. Deputy President of Prosperity Party, Adam Farah, disclosed that the Ethiopian government is always ready to resolve conflict in a peaceful manner. He also underscored that the government remains open and steadfast for peace talks while maintaining its territorial integrity. Goshu Melliso has more from the Ethiopian News Agency.
Talking to Ethiopian News Agency, Deputy President of Prosperity Party Adam Farah said the Ethiopian government is always ready to resolve internal irregularities peacefully to ensure lasting peace in the nation. However, the terrorist TPLF ignited this third-round attack on August 24, 2022 to prolong Ethiopia in crisis in collaboration with historical enemies of the country. The Ethiopian government is remained committed to resolve internal problems with the principle of seeking African solutions to African problems.
There are a number of stakeholders who have been supporting the peace efforts of the Ethiopian government. We hail those who support the peace initiative. However, there are also external actors fueling the internal conflict to remain Ethiopia in an endless crisis. Indeed, the government is remaining committed to table differences.
Adam further said the Ethiopian government has the responsibility to ensure law and order on those who pose a threat on sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation.
If there is an aggression targeted at the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the nation, the Ethiopian government has a responsibility to respond to evil acts. We urge those who work to worsen the problem and have evil intentions to refrain from their actions.
Foreign actors should support Ethiopia's efforts to ensure lasting peace as well as African problems for African solutions rather than disrupting the peace process, Adam added.
የውስጥ ችግራችንን በራሳችን እንድንፈታ ዝግጁ የሆነ አካል ጋር
Our party is ready to resolve differences in roundtable discussions. Instead of disrupting a peace-making process, foreign actors should support Ethiopia's effort to resolve its internal problem on its own. Otherwise, they should leave African problems to be solved by Africans.
ማድረግ ነው የውጭ ኃይሎች የሚጠበቅባቸው።
The terrorist TPLF aggression in collaboration with Ethiopia's historical enemies is being fueled by joint force of Ethiopians in the public, he noted.
State Minister for Foreign Affairs Tesfaye Yilma said the diaspora community has been contributing significantly to maintain Ethiopian national interest. The State Minister underscored that this is despite some Western countries putting undue pressure on Ethiopia and echoing the activities of terrorists to destroy the country. Kasawun Chane has the rest of the story.
There's no stone left unturned by the foreign bodies in collaboration with the local belligerent groups wishing a failure of development projects, including the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. In all these activities, there are many parties, friends and Ethiopians who've been continuing to fight hard by informing the world about the reality of Ethiopia and condemning the undue pressures. In addition to supporting their country by donating money, these Ethiopians also played their role in peaceful demonstrations and digital campaigns. The State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Tesfaye Yilma, Ethiopians living in different worlds continue to do activities related to the interests of their motherland.
ኢትዮጵያውያን የትም ይኑሩ የትም ምንም አይነት ፓስፖርት ያዙ
Ethiopians wherever and whatsoever they live, be having any kind of passport, be they have a nationality of other countries, they are not a citizen to change their nationality affairs. They cannot easily change their identity as the feeling is from their heart. Because of this, their imagination of their homeland is always, as one knows, and I believe they would also be a game changer at the end of the day by playing a crucial role.
እነዚህ ኢትዮጵያውያን ይሄን ሀገር ለመገንባት ትልቅ አስተዋጽኦ የሚኖራቸው ናቸው።
Ambassador Yilma also stated that their support and assistance for Ethiopia's overall development and prosperity have continued to be strengthened. He stated that they are contributing greatly to the effort to protect Ethiopia's national interest by reflecting on its position.
ውጪ የሚኖሩ ኢትዮጵያውያን ማለት ባንክ እንደተቀመጠ ገንዘብ ማለት ናቸው።
Ethiopians living abroad are equivalent to the treasury in the bank with investment, skill and communications, defending all the wrongdoings concerning their homeland, promoting Ethiopia's facts on the ground and so on. If they are working things in such a way, being hand in glove, they can indeed contribute a lot for the development endeavors of their nation without any doubt.
መግባባት እየፈጠርን በሄድን ቁጥር የሚናቸው ደግሞ የበለጠ እየሆነና ለኢትዮጵያ የወደፊት እርምጃ ትልቅ አስተዋጽኦ የሚያደርጉ መሆናቸው የማይቀር ነገር ነው።
The state minister further called on all Ethiopians living in Europe, America and the rest of the world, including friends of Ethiopia, to strengthen this tremendous effort and stand adjacent to Ethiopia's sweeping reform being undertaken across the nation.
Welcome back. You're watching Addis News Hour. There are a few major issues the whole world has to clearly know about the law enforcement operation the Ethiopian government is undertaking against TPLF rebels in Tigray. Although some have misunderstood it for lack of adequate information, some others have deliberately denied the facts on the ground. Talking to ETV, a researcher condemned the double standard exhibited by some Western powers in treating the federal government and the TPLF as equals. Daniel Kasahun has the details.
The daunting treatment the Ethiopian people and government bared in connection to the law enforcement operation in the northern part of Ethiopia is heartbreaking, because the federal forces of Ethiopia, who are victims of the rebel stabbing from the back, are considered as aggressors. This can be considered as misconception or deliberate denial. The researcher whom ETV talked to indicated this requires counter-narrative for the whole world to know the real picture of the situation.
How we are just able to sell the facts on the ground, how we are able to portray ourselves as the international arena in terms of using successful diplomatic endeavors, how we are able to portray the TPLF's mischievous nature. Since it is early days of the arms struggle, TPLF have been applying deceitful strategies in portraying or in just making some kind of bias on the international community so that it will get political concession from the federal government through diplomatic ways. So you have to diagnose these things.
He also highlighted, even though some drawbacks are there in clearly portraying the whole situation in the country, some Western powers have opted to pursue double standards in treating the two sides.
We are not expecting the world to shut up on these issues because they have their own values. The West powers, especially the US and European countries, claim to have democratic values. Just crying over or struggling over human rights. Point is that we cannot, we can shut up, or we can expect the world to be just to expect to be silent. One thing, but how the double standard is working on the vein, it requires some kind of a closer investigation. Sometimes the Westerns have their own national interests to serve, and they have a key strategic partners, especially in the Horn of Africa. We need to be careful while we are going to make it a kind of diplomatic agreement with these superpowers, yes?
The researcher suggests all the people and government of Ethiopia need to exert more efforts to win the battle against them by exploiting all the means they have at hand in a concerted manner.
Ethiopians living in European countries and friends of Ethiopia took part in a demonstration at the Schuman Square opposite the European Commission. France, Italy, the Netherlands and Germany are among the countries from which the Ethiopian diaspora came. The Brussels coordinators of the Defend Ethiopia Task Force Europe stated that the purpose of the rally is to protest the inappropriate intervention of some Western countries in Ethiopia and inform the international community on the reality about Ethiopia. The demonstrators chanted slogans warning some countries and institutions to stop the pressure they are putting on Ethiopia and to lift their hands. The coordinators of the demonstration submitted a letter to the European Commission's head of foreign affairs about the intervention of the European Commission on Ethiopia. Schuman Square, where the peaceful demonstration took place, is where the Belgian Parliament, the American Embassy, and other large government institutions are located in addition to the Commission. The Defend Ethiopia Task Force Europe has announced that it is conducting a campaign to promote the national interest of Ethiopia in the digital environment by coordinating Ethiopians living in Europe and creating various messages on Twitter. Take a look.
Stop supporting TPLF is terrorist. TPLF is criminal. We demand justice. We demand justice. justice. Ethiopia demands 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 justice. Stop. Stop. Supporting armed insurgency. Armed insurgency. Stop. Stop. Supporting terrorism. Terrorism in Africa. In Africa. EU. 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 Stop. 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 Supporting armed insurgency in Africa. In Africa. Hands of Ethiopia. Hands of Ethiopia. Hands of Ethiopia. Hands of Ethiopia. No Syria. No Libya. No Yemen. No Yemen. In Ethiopia. No Syria. No Libya. No Libya. No Yemen. No Yemen. In Ethiopia. In Ethiopia. Ethiopia is sovereign. Ethiopia is sovereign. Ethiopia is sovereign. Ethiopia is sovereign. Respect. 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 The voice. The voice. The voice. The voice of Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Have spoken. Have spoken. Clearly. Clearly. Have spoken. Have spoken. Clearly. Clearly. Ethiopian people. Ethiopian people. Vote. 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 And have won. Enough won. We have overcome. 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 We will overcome. We will overcome. No more TPLF. 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 Free Ethiopia. Free Ethiopia.
Ethiopia will never accept any politically motivated interference. This was disclosed while a delegation led by State Minister for Justice presented Civil and Human Rights Declaration Performance Report to the UN Human Rights Committee in Geneva, Switzerland. After the reform, Ethiopia has undertaken commendable measures to protect human and democratic rights, the report indicated. Take a listen to this.
The conflict which the TPLF itself, the Joint Investigation Team's report and several other sources confirmed was initiated by the then regional forces. As of August 2022, the Ministry Tribunal rendered 25 convictions involving rigorous imprisonment of up to 25 years, including one life sentence. The adequacy of the national mechanisms rendered any political motivated international investigation mechanisms redundant and incompatible with the working of international law.
Alam Ante also indicated that the repeated invasion by the TPLF has resulted in grave human rights violations and property damage. The Ethiopian government has constituted an investigation team to make perpetrators accountable. However, neglecting the joint report of the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, the establishment of the Human Rights Team of Experts on Ethiopia is a politically motivated move, he said.
To challenge both the establishment of the Commission as well as its findings and conclusions. In respect of transitional justice, distinguished member of the committee, considering the complexity, gravity, and communal dimension of the conflict and the violations, the government of Ethiopia seriously considered that the use of criminal procedures as the only pathway to ensuring accountability, redress, and justice would not be very effective in delivering and sustainable peace in the full sense.
Addis Ababa city, the capital of Africa, has been awarded in the C40 2022 meeting of the world mayors at the C40 World Mayors Summit in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and Freetown in Sierra Leone are the only two African countries recognized as having the best climate projects in the world at the 2020 C40 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Awards. At the C40 World Mayors Summit in Buenos Aires, Argentina, C40 and Bloomberg Philanthropies announced the 10 winners of the 2022 C40 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Awards. The awards were given out in 5 categories that corresponded to this year's summit theme, United in Action, and represented the most ambitious and impactful project spearheaded by mayors from around the world to address the global climate crisis. Winners of the 2022 C40 Cities Bloomberg Philanthropies Awards come from Asia, North America, South America, Europe, and Africa. After the Great Diaspora Homecoming Challenge back in January 2022, spearheaded by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, a number of Ethiopian diasporas and Ethiopian nationals took the initiative to come back home to contribute a great deal to their homeland. One such Ethiopian who came up with Brighter Generation, a virtual teaching pilot program, is Tsagga Solomon, a medical doctor, who told ETV that the initiative will create connection between students and diasporas through different regions in Ethiopia when it reaches maturity stage. Tegus Arnesa has the following report.
Brighter Generation is a program that aims to enhance education and empower the next generation of leaders in Ethiopia by connecting the diaspora with students and teachers in Ethiopia. Dr. Tsagga Solomon, who is a health professional, sat with ETV and told that this program came to being by couples who paid a visit right after the Great Diaspora Homecoming Challenge back on January 7, 2022, spearheaded by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.
So this idea came actually when my husband and I were visiting Ethiopia last year in January when there was Ethiopian homecoming. We had an opportunity to visit our country. Other times it was to visit family, friends, or vacation, but this time it was just to see the well-being of our country and to support our people. And during that time we had opportunities to travel to different parts of Ethiopia, including Debre Birhan, Shoarobit, Gondar and such. And we saw that we wanted to contribute to Ethiopia in a real way that can impact the community and the society, not just the ones in Addis Ababa, but all sorts of regions in Ethiopia. And so since we come from very professional and education background, we felt that education is a way that we can help our country and make the next generation ready to, lift Ethiopia and carry Ethiopia forward. And so that's how it came about.
Tsagga underscored that while in search of some convenient platform to help Ethiopia, this Brighter Generation virtual teaching platform came to reality.
And another thing is that the diaspora during that time really wanted to be part of Ethiopia's advancement, change, prosperity and success. And but there isn't that many type of direct platforms to carry out such type of service. So we thought of a platform that allows professional diaspora around the world to be able to connect to Ethiopia and contribute in a real way. And specifically, we decided that in this project, it would be through education.
She further stated that when this very pilot program reached its final maturity stage, it's planned to be as inclusive as possible through different regions of Ethiopia.
So this was a pilot project. We wanted to be as inclusive as possible of different regions of Ethiopia, but we successfully were able to include 5 regions of Ethiopia. But our hope is to include actually all regions of Ethiopia, different cities within each regions of Ethiopia, to be part of this expansion program. So now it's been a pilot program to sort of see how this works. Is it possible to virtually for the diaspora to virtually teach high school students in Ethiopia. Particularly, this program is for 9th and 10th grade students. And once we've shown that, yes, you can successfully do this and have a huge impact on the students, now how do we expand it, reach, we have 9 centers right now where we taught this course, and our goal is to expand it to 50 or more by the next phase. So it goes from being pilot program to actually an expanded program.
A financing agreement amounting to €5 million for the implementation of the protection, restoration and development of the Lalibela project was signed today between the government of Ethiopia and France. Samarita Soaso, State Minister for Finance, and Valerie Tehio, Country Director of the French Development Agency in Ethiopia, signed the financing agreement on behalf of the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the French Development Agency, respectively. Shagao Yamato has more.
Considering the long history of collaboration shared between Ethiopia and France, €5 million financing agreement was signed on Thursday between Samarita Soaso, State Minister of the Ministry of Finance, and Valérie Théo, Country Director of the French Development Agency in Ethiopia. The aim of the project is to contribute the heritage preservation and urban integration of the site of Lalibela by preparing the interventions of preservation and restoration of the monolithic churches, as well as the definition of interventions, promoting the urban, tourist, social and local economic development in connection with the site.
This agreement is for the restoration, protection and development of Lalibela. It has a grant of 5 million, which is equivalent to 260 million Ethiopian birr. The grant agreement that we're signing today is an indication of the strong and long-lasting partnership that we have. We are very appreciative of the continued assistance that we've received from the government of France, and this continues in times of difficulty.
We are investing almost 600 million birr to support all aspects of the preservation, restoration and capacity building of Lalibela, benefiting to the communities, benefiting to the Heritage Authority, and the further capacity of the Ethiopian government to manage its very numerous and diversified heritage. Of course, this is only part of a bigger support that AFD is providing to the government of Ethiopia. We have a portfolio of more than 500 million euros here in very different sectors, and we hope that we can continue to develop it.
Co-signing the agreement, French ambassador to Ethiopia, Remy Marecha, said the additional grant of 5 million euros is dedicated to preservation and restoration actions of Lalibela, adding it will also create jobs to the development of tourism in the region.
This additional grant of 5 million euro is dedicated to finalize all the studies requested by UNESCO to put in place a lasting and sustainable solution for the preservation of the churches. So we have already proposed the Ethiopian government, but also the church authorities, an alternative solution to the current shelters that would be removed and replaced. But in order to do so, we need to get the final approval of UNESCO. So this is the same for the restoration. This grant will allow us to propose to the Ethiopian authorities, but also to the religious authorities of Lalibela, a comprehensive program for the restoration of the churches. And as the minister rightly said, all this action is not only to protect the heritage, but it's also the final goal is to allow for the creation of jobs, the development of tourism in the region.
It is to be recalled that Ethiopia and France agreed for the preservation of Lalibela churches in 2018.
I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
business news, the Ethiopian Airlines announced that it is undertaking various efforts to put 39 new planes into operation soon, expanding its role in managing African Airlines as a shareholder. Ethiopian Airlines Group Board Chairman Girma Waqe told the Ethiopian News Agency that the airliner is currently in the process of managing Congo and Nigeria Airways as a shareholder. According to Waqe, the Ethiopian Airlines has been the flagship of Ethiopia for more than 7 decades and has become a best airline in the world. Besides, the airlines is working to continue its success in a reliable manner and to double its growth every 5 years, he elaborated, underscoring in all continents of the world except Australia is being undertaken. Ethiopian flies to more than 130 international and 22 domestic destinations. And finally to Kenya, a Nairobi-based green transport company unveiled Wednesday an electric bus. Nairobi is referred to as the Green City in the Sun because of lush parks surrounding the Kenyan capital. Rome, a Kenyan-Swedish company, now wants that epithet to also refer to the city's environmentally friendly mobility. Johannes Fentahun has more from Africa News.
Nairobi is referred to as Green City in the Sun because of lush parks surrounding the city. Ruam, a Kenyan-Swedish company, now wants to infine to also refer to the city's environmentally friendly mobility. It unveils Wednesday an electric bus in a city where polluting exhausts farms contributing to stick smogs.
The most significant thing is it's an electric bus, and it's the first electric mass transit bus in Kenya that we designed since last year and co-manufactured it with a global partner.
If only charging stations exist in the metropolis of nearby 5 million, the team Ruam was not deterred. They wanted to encourage green commuting in a city where smoke, blanching, minivans are a far more familiar sight.
I could say long time Nairobi was known as the Green City under the sun. That glory has been fading away, but we want to bring that light back because Nairobi has been seen, as a leader of innovation, and we see Nairobi as a good starting point and an establishment hub to deploy these buses.
The 77-seat bus has top speed of 70 kilometers per hour and a battery pack allowing it to travel 360 kilometers before requiring a 2-hour charge. It was also designed to be accessible and inclusive for all.
We are looking at a very inclusive bus, meaning that it can accommodate people on wheelchairs, elderly, so we have priority seats inside this bus.
The transport sector accounts for 12% of Kenya's emission footprint, so that figure rises to 45% in Nairobi, according to the government's figures.
You're watching Addis News Hour. Here's a reminder of the stories making headlines. Ethiopians denounce undue Western interference. And a researcher speaks out against double standard by Western powers in treating the TPLF.